bulletin this hour, ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has set the tone for the year. Speaking during the party's annual January 8th statement, Ramaphosa emphasized the party's renewal and unity project. He even went as far as warning those who create divisions within the party that there's no longer room for them. Ramaphosa also outlined the problems plaguing the country, which are unemployment, rolling blackouts, as well as corruption. Let's rope in political analyst now, Susan Booysen, to give us her insight into this year's address, the tone set and the nation's expectations. Professor, good morning and thank you very much for your time. An interesting January 8th statement. 6 priorities, key or chief to those being the renewal project. Talk to us or give us your views of that statement.
Good morning, Mfundu. And yes, it was certainly an ongoing and quite solidly established theme in Cyril Ramaphosa's January 8th address on behalf of the ANC. And yet, one cannot help but notice that it's still very vaguely articulated. It was stated unambiguously that the renewal project of the ANC is unstoppable. And yet we see so many gaps and so many uncertainties, so many still unspoken areas about renewal. And for example, first one can start with the so-called modernization of the ANC and its preparation organizationally for the 2024 elections. This prompted me, those emphases, to go and look back into 11 years ago, and also in Mangaung, the ANC's renewal project was then said to be getting on track, and so many other types of phrases that one heard yesterday in Cyril Ramaphosa's address has been ongoing themes ever since the centenary year of the ANC, in the ANC's pledges to renew itself, to become a more professional organization. And so one cannot help but see these statements, yesterday's statement, with a bit of skepticism. The right noises are being made, but the adequate substance is still lacking.
What of those that say, yes, we've heard this message of renewal quite often, but this time apart, what distinguishes it is that there has been some meaningful movement insofar as arresting those that are corrupt, charging some, disciplining some. A number of ANC members could not stand for positions this time around. So would that not be that distinguishing element this time around insofar as their project for renewal is concerned?
It could possibly be viewed as part of a more assertive stand. No, but as long as we know how endemic corruption is in the ANC and the ANC's operations in government, and as long as we notice how few of those people have still been brought to book, how few of those potential candidates have been barred from participating in these latest round of ANC elections, one cannot wonder about how seriously it is really to be taken, and how much of a differentiation there is between the right words, the right reassurances and statements being given, and the concrete action in the ground. In yesterday's statement, too, by Ramaphosa on behalf of the ANC NEC, we heard quite a few reassurances that, yes, the Zondo Commission recommendations must be implemented. The organizations pursuing justice must be strengthened internally and in the state. In ANC, we heard again that the ANC, for example, the Integrity Commission and the disciplinary structures of the ANC will be strengthened. We've heard that quite a few times over the years. And whereas it is certainly important to be told given those reassurances once again, it is still to be shown exactly what makes it different this time around. We know that from the ANC's perspective, it is very important to bring home a message of difference, because the ANC is on the verge of 2024 elections, whereas it's not sure whether it would actually lose outright power, because the ANC has been declining at a lesser rate nationally than at local elections level, and the decline to below 50% in the local elections of 2021 doesn't automatically translate into the below 50 come 2024. But for the ANC, it's pivotal to stem that decline precipitous decline ever since 2004. And so it is in that the ANC definitely hopes to bring home the message that it is different, that it means things more seriously than before. But I'm looking for the concrete points of evidence.
It seems there have been extensive deliberations around local government insofar as service delivery is concerned. It's actually priority number 4. We heard the president in his address yesterday speaking about the need to do away with incompetent personnel at local government. And I was speaking to one political analyst asking if, yes, it sounds good, but is it really implementable if one has to manage the politics as well of things? Because in the ANC, there are those that are deployed, and in most instances, it would have been those that would have campaigned rigorously for the party, perhaps the previous term. So there is some sort of an entitlement, or we've seen those that have been entitled to those positions that in a particular municipality, you even have either assisted the mayor to ascend to that particular position. So how would it be easy or difficult to manage these politics, even if you want to see better delivery for citizens?
Mfundo, that indeed is a serious problem for the ANC. They know what has to be done, and in so many ways, if not in all ways, it's absolutely obvious that incompetent staff have to be done away with. We didn't actually need the platform of the January 8th statement to get a reassurance of sorts that it's necessary to do this. And this problem of incompetent staff, of cadre deployment, of ANC members' sense of entitlement, even of ANC people or potential ANC people joining the ANC so that they can become more entitled to those kinds of positions. It is a massive problem throughout local government. There are small exceptions, but it's close to throughout local government. That's corruption, entitlement, deployment, creation of jobs, and the prioritization of staff salaries before any services are delivered in so many other local municipalities. Those are serious problems, and it will be an immense task for the ANC to root that out and to get that kind of professionalism and integrity in all of local government. We heard Cyril Ramaphosa yesterday on behalf of the NEC again deal quite flippantly with the district development model as a proposed solution to problems of service delivery at local government level. And yet that model, it can make some amends here and there, but we have not heard Cyril Ramaphosa address the actual problem there, and that is the professionalization generally of the local system of local government in South Africa to ensure that that actually works. That's what I mean with professionalization there. It does not work, and we have not seen the solution for that. And that is so important also for the ANC looking at its trajectory going forward, because it is at that level that local citizens generally relate to the ANC. Very interestingly, in a broader document of ANC policy resolutions, we saw a huge elaboration of the role that branches should play in fusing with state processes of law enforcement, of delivery, etc. And that for me raised very interesting questions about the separation between state and party. And because that is in some ways what you see the ANC, despite its electoral decline, it is so fused with state power that is almost impossible to imagine a separation of the ANC and power.
An age-old problem of the conflation of party and state. But I want to take you to priority number 2, ESCOM. The issues thereof. They've spoken about what needs to happen, being perhaps bringing in more skilled personnel. It's a conversation that has been had quite often. Did you get a sense that there was something new that was going to be brought into the state-owned entity to ensure that there's some sort of a turnaround?
Indeed, no, I did not get that impression. I was actually quite disappointed, if not shocked, to see the small amount of detail that was offered the words for formulating this priority for the ANC for action in the forthcoming year was simply accelerating the resolution of the energy crisis. And it was vague. Certainly, policy January 8 statements are not the place to elaborate all details of all aspects of solutions. But given how much for the ANC depends on persuading the citizenry and the electorate in particular out there that it has solutions and that it has the ability to do things better and to solve the country's crisis, one would definitely have expected some more detail on that and the idea of this is the solution that we are pursuing at this moment. These are the exact reasons why our previous assurances that resolutions are on track, are unfolding, would actually be happening. These are the reasons why they have not been manifested. This is the kind of assurance one would have expected in a statement as important as yesterday's January 8th statement, and yet there were complete voids there.
Although he did state at the beginning of that statement that there was an NEC statement that was more comprehensive, that his was more of a summary than anything else. But just in closing, on the decision or resolution by the party to have state-owned entities now being moved to specific line ministries or departments, what is your view on that? Do you think that will yield positive results?
Well, potentially, it can hardly go worse than what it has been going. And if it is combined with those areas of specialization, functionality, service delivery that come with the line departments, there is possibly a chance that it can run better, but we'll simultaneously know that this is no reassurance that it will exactly be happening. We know how much dysfunctionality there is in many of the line departments in South Africa. And so I will just be watching the space to see whether it is not another case of moving around deck chairs, of creating new institutions and new promises, and hoping that in the assertion of those processes and new institutions and panels and commissions of investigation, there are so many examples in South African politics, state politics, and those are used, those types of processes and assurances are used to create the impression that things are happening and that government is doing things. But yet, as we've seen in so many cases before, that doesn't guarantee positive outcomes.
Let's hope at least for today we'll get better answers, because my colleague JJ Taban is in fact going to be in conversation with the president in just a bit. So hopefully some of that we didn't get, he'll be able to elaborate this time around. Professor, though, thank you very much for your time. That's political analyst Professor Susan Booysen. More news on the